Can shelter pets heal a community?
An incarcerated girl agrees to go to a therapy group because there might be kittens there. There are kittens, and one crawls into her lap and falls asleep. I ask her, "How does this feel?" And she answers, "Safe. I don't remember when I felt this safe before."
An incarcerated boy at a local juvenile detention facility steps into a cold, dark gymnasium. Looking around, he sees yoga mats. He steps onto one and lies down reluctantly. Suddenly, he's joined by a dog who lays down beside him, gazing back into his eyes, saying, "It's okay to lay here with me and be still. It's okay to find comfort in this sea of discomfort." Suddenly, the boy rises to stand, and for the first time finds balance in his tree pose.
Both of these stories illustrate the human-animal bond. A shelter pet meets an incarcerated youth for the first time, and in that moment, there's a shift, a window for some healing. The human-animal bond is ancient. For centuries, people and animals have lived together, worked together, played together, and been partners in life. And as we've evolved, this bond has evolved. We may think that the most challenging feelings and experiences, grief, loss, anger, aggression, take a long time to heal. But when you bring an animal into that experience, the healing ignites.
Let your eyes soften, or close them if you feel comfortable. Join us on a journey, allowing your mind to float back to a special memory that you've had with a pet or an animal. Maybe the first time that you brought a pet home. Or maybe it was this morning when you shared a laugh with your furry friend. Or maybe it was when an animal helped you through a difficult time in your life and offered you healing. Maybe saying goodbye to an old friend. Take a moment and identify this special memory in your mind's eye. When you have that memory, notice what you see and what you hear. As you breathe, maybe a familiar scent from that memory, or reaching out to touch a piece of the memory, feeling it on your fingertips. Do you feel calm? Do you feel peaceful? Do you feel happy? Do you feel pain or sadness? Allow any and all of these feelings from this memory to come into this moment, perhaps expressing them on your face or gently with your body. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Opening your eyes, returning your awareness to the room. What you've just experienced physically and emotionally is your unique relationship with your human-animal bond.
And that human-animal bond develops differently for everyone, both people and animals. When I'm angry, he makes me happy. When I'm sad, he makes me hopeful. I love Chaz. He doesn't share secrets. And I like the way you're always looking for food. These are just some of the notes Chaz and I have gotten over the years in working with kids. We met 5 years ago at the Canyon City Inmate Training Program. And since then, we've worked at schools. That's a school picture. Residential youth facilities, private practice, hospice grief groups, and at our local juvenile detention facility. What Chaz has taught his young clients is important. He's taught empathy and compassion, patience, impulse control. But he's also taught them that just because you feel these strong feelings of rage or anger or aggression, you don't have to act on it. He taught them this because of the bond he has with these kids, a bond of trust that he will always be safe. And all of our work together, he's never seen a fight. He's never had a kid be aggressive around him because this bond has kept him safe and them safe. Now, what we know is if these kids can do this with Chaz, They can do it in their own home, their own school, and their community. This has been life-changing for some of these kids. Chaz and I have worked in a lot of groups together, but most recently, we partnered up with Matt and Nessie for a very special program.
And when we first brought the dogs into Grand Mesa Youth Services to participate in yoga, we were met with a little resistance and anxiety from these kids. But when Chaz and Nessie came and joined the yoga, we saw something powerful shift in these kids. Trust, compassion, unconditional love, and non-judgment. Feelings and experiences that for many of these kids they had yet to experience throughout their lives. So as they began to connect with the dogs, they began to connect with their yoga practice. They began to connect with themselves, taking what they'd learned off the mat into their daily lives. We saw this powerful shift happening with these kids. We knew we had to offer something similar to the public. And when we opened our doors at our local animal shelter to offer yoga, we did it in a similar way, except this time with kittens. We have so many distractions in our world. What better way to come into a yoga class and practice breathing, being calm, and a quiet mind with 30 kittens running around the room? Right? No problem. So as the public came in to experience our kittens at our shelter and practice a fun, gentle, light, playful yoga class, it quickly turned into something deeper than that. Because how many of you have had more than one thought at the same time? Maybe, 2, 3, sometimes 10. And the truth is our thoughts behave a lot like kittens. Sometimes they hiss and scratch and scurry around up in our minds. And sometimes they run around and hide away for a while, taking a nap, maybe waking up when we least expect it. So as the public came in to experience this powerful experience with their thoughts and kittens and their community, they were reminded that as they step off their mats into their week ahead, as they have these inevitable, uncomfortable, or difficult thoughts, sometimes 2, 3, 5, 10, to be aware and to be mindful as they were at kitten yoga, to take care of those thoughts as if they were like kittens and be gentle with your thoughts.
But some thoughts are anything but gentle. Some thoughts are hard. And I'm curious if any of you during the visualization had a thought maybe of a pet that you lost or a challenging memory. Thank you. The hard part of the human-animal bond is that pets don't live as long as we do. And when we love a pet, we know there will be grief. But animals have so much to teach us about grief and loss. This is my first therapy dog, Abbott. He was a little gray in the muzzle when I got him. He'd been a seeing eye dog for most of his life. And Abbott and I worked together with kids. Here he is wearing a hat that someone designed for him. He also loved to play ball with these kids, go for walks with them to help them calm down. He would take naps, and he would listen. He would listen to the stories they couldn't tell anybody else, that they didn't want to tell anybody else. Stories of loss and abandonment, their own traumas and tragedies and sadnesses. And Abbott never told secrets. Abbott always listened. So I knew when it came time to retire him, I wanted to create a process to help them with this and understand this loss. So we threw a big party for Abbott. He got new tennis balls, he got treats, someone brought him flowers, and all the kids took home a picture of themselves with Abbott to keep forever. Several months later, when Abbott's health took a steep decline, I had to make the decision, along with his doctor, to let him go. When I went back to work, it was with these same kids that I was able to help them and myself process this deeper loss. We told stories, we remembered him, we gave thanks for him. And what I learned, and what I think these kids learned too, is that the grief is equal to the love. And after the loss, the love is what remains. I ran into one of these kids recently, and he said, "How's Abbott doing?" And I felt that tug as I told him Abbott had been gone for several years. And he said, "I just remember playing ball with him when I was upset." And I remembered the love. And that's how grief works. We just started offering pet loss groups in our community at our local animal shelter because we want to honor this human-animal bond and these four-legged family members and friends that bring so much to our lives. And here people share stories, and they talk, and they find community. When a woman came in who'd lost her dog of 20 years and lived alone, had also lost her husband, had no family in town, the group reached out to support her. At every one of these groups, someone asked me the same question: how long will this grief last? When will it leave? And I tell them, for me, grief doesn't leave. It transforms into memories and gratitude.
And loss comes in many forms. Sure, animals pass away and we grieve that loss. But sometimes animals run away from home and they don't come back. Or sometimes animals change ownership and that owner is faced with the heartbreaking reality of no longer being able to adequately care for that pet they love so much. This is Ness, who is asleep on stage. And our journey together begins at that loss. Ness's previous owner was diagnosed with an aggressive form of skin cancer. She knew that she had to leave town for treatment. But she also knew that Ness had healing qualities that she had to share with the community. As she sat at our local animal shelter to say goodbye to Ness, as Ness so often does with strangers, people she loves most, she held out her paw, placing it onto her knee, and said, "It's time to focus on your healing now. And I love you." Today, Ness has begun that healing journey in our community, working with at-risk youth, adults with intellectual disabilities, and seniors at a local rehabilitation center. It takes courage to say goodbye to someone you love. And it also takes courage to reach out to ask for help. But as Nessie's previous owner was able to do both of these things, this brave act sparked the catalyst for healing in this community.
So what do you want to do? How can shelter pets heal your community?
Maybe you want to advocate at your local shelter for new programs so that the public can come in and interact with shelter pets in new and exciting ways.
Or maybe it's as simple as calling up a friend who lost their pet and being present with them through that loss.
Or maybe it's about reaching out and connecting with your neighbors, going for walks, and strengthening community connections through your human-animal bond.
Because what we know is just like that girl with the kitten who fell asleep in her lap.
And that boy who found his tree pose.
Shelter pets can heal your community.